Hey everyone, this is Rob with MMORPGcom, and welcome to the Neverwinter Foundry Focus. Tonight we're going to do things a little bit differently. Instead of actually running through a mission, I've got with me Andy, senior producer on Neverwinter with Cryptic, along for an interview tonight. Evening, Andy.
Yo, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for taking time out of your day, or actually I guess the end of a busy day for you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is my nightcap for the day.
All right. Well, I'm glad you can spend it with us. Before he joined, he was having a vicious duel with his associate producer, but not over any game items, over Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
How'd that end up?
I had an epic turnaround game one. He got me down to 2 life, and I stabilized with my bomb. We're doing sort of in-house Gate Crash, Return of Ravnica, sort of limited sealed decks. So I played Rakdos and sort of just ate all of his dudes from there. So it was pretty sweet. And then game 2 I lost, and that was sad.
Well, you work with him, so you can see him tomorrow.
We'll have rematches for sure.
All right, so I guess the biggest thing on everybody's mind right now probably is Module 1, Fury of the Feywild.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell us a little bit about the background? What is Fury of the Feywild, and why did you guys choose this to be the first module for Neverwinter?
Well, one of the things that we wanted to do with all of the modules is have something, sort of a consistent theme for everything. We know that we're going to be coming out with systems all the time. We know that we're going to be coming out with new mounts and companions and all these things that we wanted, that people ask for. But providing some sort of contextual wrapper was really important for us. And then we just start hitting all the lore about what would be really cool that would be able to support updates. And we have tons of ideas. And Faye, just for whatever reason, in the time that we were talking about it, jumped out as something that'd be really, really cool. And so, we're able to do all kinds of crazy stuff with Faye creatures for mounts and companions. And then there's the Moon and Sun Elves that have all their really cool architecture and sort of whole ways of life that are very well fleshed out in D&D lore. So we can build armor sets around them. We can build enchantments around them, all that sort of stuff. So it was really exciting to be able to just, the whole game is done and live, and we're supporting that, as you guys probably know, but being able to sink our teeth into just one thing that sort of was able to wrap up all of these disparate ideas and put them together into a single module was really cool. So you expect to see this sort of thing beyond just Module 1. We'll continue the same idea where we take this cool lore theme that fans of D&D probably know and love, and then new people just have a nice, consistent entry point into each of the new modules.
I want to kind of call it audible. I was going to ask you a different question next, but I want to follow up on something you mentioned there. You're saying the game is now live. It has been live for a couple of weeks. How is it different for you as a team, and how do you treat this differently now that it's a live game as opposed to a few weeks ago when it was still in an open beta?
Yeah, I mean, we've had to transition to, as you can imagine, we have a whole live support structure, which we didn't have to necessarily have before. Obviously, during betas and stuff, we had CS and community and GMs and all these things, but it is a much more sort of rigorous, regimented process now. Like every Monday, I sit down and get reports from my CS team and my community team about what the players are feeling, what are the pain points, what are the issues that they're talking about, and then we'll come up with, in addition to all the things that we're doing for Module 1, we have a subset of our team set aside to handling the issues that you guys are calling out and making sure that we get fixes and changes out to you guys more timely than just bundling them up and then putting them out, a month, 2 months later when we do major updates.
Okay. Back to Fury of the Feywild. Is that actually going to be something we're going to see on your guys' test server before it comes to the live server?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll go to test with it before it actually goes live, and you should expect to hear announcements about that real soon.
Oh, I was going to ask you when we can expect to see it on the test servers.
Like very, very soon. Stand by shortly.
Is it written on your whiteboard back there?
Yeah. Like,
can we see it in one of those squares?
Inconveniently for you, right off of the screen up there.
Oh. What is that in the picture, by the way, behind you?
Oh, so it is all of my producers.
It's like Mount Hot now blowing up over there?
Well, so this is Mount Hope now. This is Fury of the Feywild when we had some of our early concept art for it. Mm-hmm. And then all of my producers on D&D Stickums. So, he's the producer that handles all of our combat teams. We got myself on the Displacer Beast. So Just something we do, messing around.
All right. All right, so we know we're going to get to see new races. Do you want to talk about those two real quick?
Sure, yeah, we have Moon and Sun Elves coming out. Obviously, again, we talked about Fury of the Feywild, the whole Fey theme being this overarching lore wrapper for the whole update. So we looked through the Fey races, and we have a lot more than just those two getting introduced, either as critters, bosses, or mounts and companions. But those are the two that we'll have out as player races, and then again expect every new module to come out, and we'll see what cool races that we can tie in there and offer more selections for the players.
Okay. Well, we know we're going to get new races. Are we going to get new classes? I mean, you guys have been teasing us since it was an open beta with the little icon for the 6th class, coming soon TM. Any hints on what we might see and when we might see it?
I think it'll be soon. We're aiming to have the first one out for the first expansion class out before the end of the year. I've already been playing it. It's super fun. It's my class that I am most, like, even before launch, we had already worked on it a bunch, and it was the one I was most excited about, but we just needed more time to flesh out and make sure the other ones were good, so we sort of tabled it. But, up to launch, it was, I don't know, maybe 40% done or something like that. So we just picked it up, and we've had a team working on it pretty much nonstop since we've been live. And obviously not the same as the live team because they've been working on the game, but yeah, it's coming along soon, and it's really exciting. I think a lot of people will be very excited.
Okay, so chances are we're going to see it this year, but we're probably not going to see it in the first module.
Yes, that's correct.
All righty. Another thing I want to talk about is because it's completely new, and you're talking about adding systems, is the campaign system. I mean, what is the campaign system? Obviously, it involves questing, but it's much more than just questing. Do you want to?
Yeah, the campaign system is something that we put into sort of help guide medium and longer term goals. Once you get to level 60, you don't have that sort of carrot dangling over your head that's the level or your number, right, getting that higher. So, other players are motivated by getting that gear score up. Others are motivated by, collecting all the companions or whatever it is. But for a subset of players, once they hit that end game or they've seen all the content, they don't have much to do other than obviously running through Foundry stuff, which you guys are doing a great job promoting. But the campaign system is something that when they come in, log in, and check out Fury of the Feywild and new Adventures on Sharndar, beyond just their single play session, it'll help frame their goals as they need to unlock new areas of the zone, unlock the dungeon, and then start getting access to it to get their sort of cool epic drops from that area, and then even unlocking cool powers too via the campaign system. So it's this sort of meta level structure, this system that sits on top of the new adventure zone that sort of provides you with some really cool medium and long-term goals to shoot for.
And the new adventure zone is going to actually consist of 3 subzones, correct?
Yeah, and in addition to the dungeons and instances that connect off of it, there's like the Blighted Grove is like the first area. There's 2 others too that you'll sort of quest in and complete, and then sort of graduate to the next couple of areas.
It's my understanding that actually works into the campaign system, that as you complete stuff with the campaign system, it opens up those additional subzones. You only have access to 1 at the beginning.
Absolutely. So, for example, the playtest that I was just doing right before we got on this call, or actually right before I lost in Magic, was checking out Neighborhood 1. We had just done a lot of changes to it in terms of the mission flow. So I was playing through Area 1 and trying to get enough... complete enough of the campaign system to unlock the second area.
All right. It's my understanding as well that you guys are going to add in a new currency with the campaign system.
So yes and no. I mean, when we talk about unlocking things, you'll have to take resources, reputation, currencies of some sort or other, and sort of deposit them to unlock the different areas. So there's a few different currencies or sort of collectible tokens that you'll have to grab and sort of accrue enough of them to curry favor with the Elves of Sharndar.
There's more currencies than I know what to do with in your game, Andy.
Yeah. It is certainly feedback that we've been getting, and you know, we split up into we have now the Riches tab, which I think was a late beta addition to sort of help you understand this a little bit better. But certainly it's something that we're hearing. It's one of the things that, for at least the campaign system, being able to, we're trying our best to make it not we're trying to make it feel a little bit different than, say, Astral Diamonds and then the Gold and Zen. It should feel significantly different than those currencies, at least. And so it hopefully won't take sort of the brain space of those.
Okay, because I was just going to say, we've got the Astral Diamonds, we've got Zen, we've got the Ardent coins, we got the Celestial coins, we got the coins you just added in with Gonalgrim. So we've got all the Unicorn, the Lion, Manicore, the seals we got. So it just seems like, and I actually kind of enjoyed the currencies in each zone you had for like the bounties, but I know some people it starts to become overwhelming with all those different currencies.
Yeah, and again, certainly we've heard that feedback. There's an amount of people that have expressed that they like like you just mentioned, what the bounties are able to do in each of the zones, and so certainly we could think about changing that, or maybe removing that currency part, but it hasn't been something that has consistently across the entire player base come up as that big of a concern. So certainly hearing it, but it's not to the sort of critical mass that we think it is actually the pervasive opinion of everyone, right? And so I think a lot of people are able to figure out what these currencies are for and why they're different and why they're useful, and move on with their enjoyment.
All right, sounds good. Gonalgrim, recent edition, came out with live, a few bumps in the road, back in the game now. How's that working out?
Since we've sort of overcome that initial bit of stumbling, it's been really smooth, and people have been getting in and playing it, and just always gathering feedback and making little tweaks here and there. But in general, like I said, like you mentioned, we had a bit of a rough start, but after that, it's been pretty smooth for us.
For the people that haven't got a chance to experience Gonalgrim yet, do you want to tell them how it's different than everything else in the game, because it's a PvE and PvP?
And interestingly enough, when we were developing it, the reason why we started making it was early on, doing either interviews with you guys or just soliciting player feedback. The sort of larger scale, not just domination PvP, was often requested. And so Gonalgrim is this, you go on, these large competitive PvE maps, and different stages tick over as you complete different objectives, and then smaller PvP matches spawn off from there that then are affected by the parent PvE maps, and it's all quite complicated, but I know once you sort of get your head around it, it sort of feels like you are engaged in a larger scale battle than just that single domination match. And so I know people who are interested in that type of combat and experience have at least responded very positively to it.
Okay, so we've seen Gonalgrim come in, which is the first time that we have multiple groups, I guess, almost a raid-like experience for an endgame event. Are we going to see pure PvE events that would be considered raid, multiple group type events?
At the moment, we haven't started working on any. I wouldn't ever go out and say, no, we'll never do them, just because, who knows what we'll do in 5 years. But at the moment, we feel really happy with our sort of 5-man gameplay, and there's a lot actually that we want to do to improve sort of that dungeon experience for the 5-man group. There's a lot of things that the boss treatment we're doing right now for the Fear of the Feywild. I think a lot of people who've been clamoring for more interesting boss fights for the 5-man dungeons, they'll be happy with what we're doing for the new updates there. So there's a lot to still do to make sure that this 5-man gameplay is really, really good. And at its core, that's like, for me, my D&D experience on pen and paper is me and my 4 or 5 buddies going down and dungeon crawling as that small group of adventurers. And that's really that feeling that we like for Neverwinter. So we're going to try to make that as good as we can be. And we've only launched, a month or so ago. And so there's a lot still to tune up. And then maybe later down the line, if we feel that raids are the place to go, we'll consider it. But at the moment, we're not.
All right. One of the things that I was under the impression of when the game was still in beta was that the server choices weren't really going to matter because by the time the game went live, all three were eventually going to feed into a single server. No. Is that still on the table, or was that a misconception?
Well, no, certainly that was the intent has always been that they are temporary. They are temporary only because of volume of players, right? Mm-hmm. It's sort of a Cadillac problem for Cryptic Studios. We truly believe as a studio the best way to do this, or best way to grow your community is have as many people as we can on a single server, and that is still our intent. We want to get everyone back down to one server. But interest in population has just been so high that it's still not a technical feasibility that we can do that yet.
Okay. I guess, like I said, that's a Cadillac problem. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, right. And so it's sort of counterintuitive to how we like our community to be distributed. And we obviously want people who are familiar, and we've gone out very many times openly saying, yeah, we want to have you guys all come back down to one place, and so it's a matter of time for us, most likely.
All right. I want to follow up with you real quickly because this is the Foundry focus on some of the Foundry questions I asked Rob Overmeyer a couple weeks ago, and that is, how are things progressing on different ways to incentivize people to participate in the Foundry, not just as authors, but actually partaking in the different Foundry missions? Because a lot of times what you have is Foundry missions that are over 15 minutes. So they'll qualify for the daily, but they don't get a lot of plays because people tend to, min-max the system and do the quicker. Is there going to be a way to say, hey, this one on average takes an hour. How about we give the players credit for this, like they completed 3 Foundry missions instead of just one that took 15 minutes?
I mean, that is exactly what I had a conversation not too long ago with Zeke, our lead designer, about implementing a system basically exactly like that. Obviously there's some other solutions that have been thrown out that we have to sort of work our way through design-wise. But I absolutely acknowledge that, and that's something that I know as a player of Neverwinter, I have missed on many occasions really, really good Foundry missions just because I'm in a rush and I just want to finish my dailies and I don't have time for 2 45-minute missions. But then some of our Foundry developers are like, oh, you didn't play that one, it was so good. So I guess nothing concrete now. We're absolutely talking about solving that problem, but it's not one of the things that we have sort of built and ready to go with Fury. But it'll almost certainly be one of the things that we tackle soon.
What about the new search functions? Rob and I briefly talked about the fact that there might be keyword searches that would make it in for Fury. How is that looking on a timeline? Does it look like it might make it in there, or?
Yeah, those ones we feel a little bit better about. Again, we're about to go, like I mentioned at the top of the show, we're about to go to preview, so a lot of it is going to be sort of how it holds up to public, sort of as the public starts banging on it. We obviously have tons of developers in QA in-house that are banging on things, but getting thousands of players is an entirely different experience, right? So those ones are a little bit further along, specifically the search features, and we'll be putting them up to preview sooner than some of the other Foundry changes.
Okay. Talking about preview, let's go to that real quick. The preview servers, how are those working? Are you getting a lot of participation, a lot of good feedback from the preview servers?
Yeah, and specifically when we run our community events, you guys probably saw we ran a couple Gonogram events just to make sure once the fixes that we're doing after the initial sort of release, and we just got a huge amount of turnout, so that was really cool. And that's sort of what we expect, right? I mean, we always have an amount of people just messing around on the shard. It's particularly quiet right now because, Fury hasn't gone up there yet, and so most people are, would just be playing the live game. But usually when we have new builds come out and new things that we want people to test, we're seeing presence there.
Is the preview shard, is it persistent, or is that something you bring up for just focused test times?
It's always on, but we,
Okay.
if you just sign on at a random time, it might not have a build with anything particularly useful or different than live, and so you're not necessarily getting any value of it. But it's always on there if you wanted to just hop on.
Well, I asked that because one of the things I get feedback on is a lot of people are interested in respecting their class, but they're concerned about making the change because it's I think it's equivalent to about 300 Zen right now to respec. So my question is, are people able to go onto the test server and respec how they want and test and feel out builds, or are they limited to respecs on the test as well?
That's currently right now you're limited on respecs, but that's a fantastic suggestion that we have actually gotten a bunch of times from people in-house as well. So we're looking at exposing some of our dev commands in a way that isn't so devy, like maybe a contact will let you get free respecs or something like that. So at least that certainly has been brought up, and it's a matter of you can imagine we have a ton of live issues, a ton of update issues. So we've had sort of the conversations about it and some design discussions, but in terms of having time to implement it yet, that hasn't quite happened. But it's something that we want to get to for sure.
Okay. And kind of along the things with gamers wanting to game the system, feel things out, push the boundaries, and in essence turn themselves into min-maxers by doing that. The dungeon dwells have seen to kind of be a hot topic that people are concerned that, during dungeon delves, I mean, people are in there. But if it's not that time and you queue up, it gets to be kind of difficult to find a group. Is there any plans to possibly either lessen, I always hate to say that, put a nerf on the incentive to do the dungeon delves, but maybe make it people more incentivized to do random dungeons when it's not a dungeon delve time?
Normalize it beyond just when the dungeon delve event is running?
Correct.
Yeah, it's interesting that feedback. I've heard it here now and then one or two forum posts about it. But there's not. I don't know. It's interesting. I guess I haven't heard it on the sort of. There are many other issues that we are currently trying to solve with dungeon delves that have sort of hit my radar stronger than that. So definitely we're tackling a lot of issues that people, like I mentioned before, with boss mechanics and sort of overall difficulty at the higher levels, like around 55 to 60, the difficulty of generic critters in those dungeons. We're doing a lot of work on those guys right now. The queuing system, I know we're having, some of the players are having issues with that properly getting them into the right groups. So right now, those are the types of things that we're tackling with dungeon delves. And not to say what you were just talking about isn't a good idea, but in terms of the sort of overwhelming commentary from the public, I haven't heard it on the level of those other things first, and so that's why we're prioritizing there.
Right. No, I understand. You got to make you don't have infinite resources. You got to make a checklist and address things as you can. Yeah. We know that you had problems in the past, like let's say Catter Day, for instance. Yeah. So you guys have had issues. You've corrected them. What are you kind of doing now that you've learned from them? What are you really doing differently to trying to make sure that you don't have like a massive exploit like that sneak through and hit a live server again?
A ton. I mean, the preview server obviously is a big step to that. We obviously didn't have that earlier. The internal process has been increased. I don't know how many, like exponentially. We do significant more design reviews, significantly more QA passes, as well as peer reviews on all check-ins. It is the other thing, and this is why I have to sort of be like responding with, we're prioritizing other things ahead. We're trying to take on less on our plates for sort of each update, so that we make sure that each of our fixes is really, really solid. Each of the things that we do is not only exploit safe, but of a higher quality bar in general. And so that's going to end up being sort of less in count of fixes for you guys on a sort of week-by-week basis, but we hope that each of those fixes is more secure and is a higher sort of player experience quality. And so that's sort of like the meta-level goal that we're aiming for, but tons of process in the back end to help make that be true.
I will hand it to you. You guys were doing, people got on you about the times that you were doing them, but you guys were updating an open beta like daily, which, what an open beta should be for. And sometimes, you took a misstep, but hey, no one's perfect. There are other games that have been in open beta that weren't patching and still aren't patching anywhere near the frequency with what you guys were doing. So good on you for that. And then when you finally went from open to release, I mean, the patch was huge. Yeah. So it's good to hear that maybe you're stepping back a little bit so you can do more focused updates and not possibly let the bad stuff in.
Yeah. Well, and you guys see what it does. You guys got me all gray in the hair.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I know I talked to you like 6 months ago, and I was like, man, Andy's young for being a lead producer. And then I see it today, I was like, wow, maybe Andy wasn't as young as I thought he was.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. I mean, certainly it was, we're all very proud of the product, and hearing once the users come in, it's a different beast, and we wanted to make sure that it was as good as we could make it for you guys. So it was a lot of long nights and weekends.
All right. So I got one more question that was put to me on our forums, and I asked you this in the pre-show. How do you reply to the detractors that say that you guys are overpriced in the Zen shop? We actually have seen a correction when you guys did with the live, and some of the prices went down. Is that something we can expect to see in the future, or are you guys kind of satisfied with the price points that you're at right now, or is that something that's ever evolving?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the last. We are constantly looking at analytics, not just for monetization, but game analytics as well. Where players are finding trouble spots, when are people picking up and deciding to pay, and what they're interested in. Our intent as a studio is never to, we're not trying to be coercive about our prices. We're not trying to sort of get over on our players. And so we're always just looking at what people are buying, and certainly there has been a lot of feedback from some people that the prices were too high, and in some places, like you mentioned, we tended to agree and we changed that. But also there's people that have talked about certain things, and we look in the data and see that many others find the prices fine for what they're getting. And so again, that's not to say that we aren't constantly looking at and ready to reevaluate it if we need to. So it'll just continue to be an evolution for us as we release more items and release new systems that take advantage of those items and so on. Okay,
well, I got you for a few more minutes. If you don't mind, I was going to throw it to the chat room to see if anybody had any questions. We do have some comments. Banana loves their white tiger mount that they just recently purchased.
Awesome. Yeah, the tiger, we were really excited because we had it a little bit ready earlier, and it was not as cool. We sort of were like, man, but we're going to release a tiger. We got to make this a little bit cooler. So we spent a little bit more time to make it good, or better, I should say. Gave it the cool little saddle and stuff. So, yeah, I'm happy to hear you say it. And if you're pumped about that, man, the Fury of the Feywild mounts and companions, oh, they're the coolest things we've ever done. I totally, every day I geek out on them. I'm playing right now on my monitor, the other one that doesn't have the screen, and I have one of our special mounts that I wish I could just show you right now. It's the coolest thing ever, but you'll have to wait.
All right, so I got two good questions. First, another comment. I was told that Just for Men works quite well for some of the people in chat. Might be something you want to look into. Might not. It's distinguished with the wings. An ETA on the current Foundry fix.
Oh, ETA. Man, as soon as possible. We just actually are in the process. Maybe if I wasn't talking with you, I bet there are some emails I should probably be reading that. We're going to roll out some potential fixes to preview this afternoon, and if those work, then we'll deploy them to live basically as soon as possible.
Okay. And what is, you wouldn't tell us when Fury of the Feywild is coming out, but can you kind of give us a projected timeline for additional modules after that? Is this something we're going to see, quarterly, bi-monthly?
Yeah, quarterly is probably a safe bet. We'll do Fury. You should expect to hear a date real soon, like within the month, and then it won't be too far away after that when it actually releases. and then another module hopefully before the end of the year. So.
All right, sounds great. We're looking forward to it, and appreciate your time. Seems like the chat is laughing. They appreciate your answers, and I guess we'll let you go. Have a great night. Thanks everybody for showing up, and that was Andy with Cryptic.
Okay, you guys. Thanks for supporting.